I 100%ed every Resident Evil game, and here is how I'm going to rank them based on how hard the achievements were. I'm going to have 3 categories. First, how fun the story was. If I like the story, yeah, good. If I don't want to be playing through crap for like 5 playthroughs or more. Next things next, the gameplay. How fun is this game going to be to play? If I'm going to take the time to 100% every Resident Evil game, I want my gameplay to feel good and be responsive. And honestly, at times it's fun, at times it's not, and it's going to get very apparent with some games. And lastly, how hard are the achievements to get? Are they going to be easy, or are they going to be a slogfest? If I were you, I would watch until the end. Resident Evil 0. Now, I'm going to be doing this in chronological order because that's how I think this works. I'm doing all the ones on Xbox that you can get achievements for, and that's not going to include the ones I don't like Operation Raccoon City. We're going to do actually good games. So, let's start with Resident Evil 0, as I said before. So, Resident Evil 0 is honestly kind of the middle child in this series. It comes in at a time before Resident Evil 4, but it comes in during the survival horror era. Its story is honestly kind of mid. It's a little boring at times, but it's honestly good. It's honestly kind of fun. It's more grounded than Resident Evil 1 or 4 or 5 or 6 is, which is nice. I like grounded stories, but at times it's going to be a little boring, and that kind of ruins everything for me. The gameplay is going to be good, but it isn't going to be as good as other games in its same era. So like Resident Evil 1, Code Veronica, stuff like that. It isn't as good in that department. The guns just don't feel like they pack a punch as much as something in Resident Evil 1 would be. But it's serviceable, and that's the most important thing. I'm gonna put this in survival horror, but we gotta talk about the achievements first. The achievements for Resident Evil 0, they're kind of scary, like the permadeath achievement. That's not fun, but it's not gonna take as many playthroughs to 100% this game as you might think. There's some bonus content that's honestly kind of bad, but it's fun to play through. That's all I have to say for Resident Evil 0, so let's move right along into the first entry, the one that started it all, kind of. It's the remake, Resident Evil 1 Remake. So, we're gonna do, okay, I know where to put this, but let me tell you guys what I think of this game. So, the story is honestly a lot better than Resident Evil 0's, which is nice. I mean, you like to have a good story, but it does get boring when you have to play it like 8 times to get every ending, do invisible mode, do the horror mode, survival horror one, where you have freaking, I don't know, item boxes that aren't connected. That's not fun. Like, I didn't have issue with the no item box in Resident Evil 0, but here, when it's not connected, it's honestly kind of worse because you can't bring anything to other sections and you can kind of get soft-locked. And that's not fun. You don't want to be soft-locked. So, Resident Evil 1 is fun, but not as fun as you want. If you want 100% this game, you gotta play it a lot, you gotta love it. And at the end, I kind of didn't, so it's gonna be put in, I mean, it's alright. I was gonna put it in survival horror, but it's not as fun as Resident Evil 0. That game is just a lot more action-packed, even though it's not that much more action-packed. And I like Billy Cohen a lot more than the characters in Resident Evil 1. Like, don't get me wrong, Jill and Chris are kind of, like, good characters, but that comes in later games. In Resident Evil 1 and 0, they're not as, they're not as fun as you think. Resident Evil 2 Remake, on the other hand, is a whole different story. This bad boy has Leon, so it's in Leoning time. This bad boy is so fun. I'm just going to tell you this right now. This is like one of my favorite Resident Evil games. It's scary. That's a plus factor. I come for the scaries. I love scary games. I come to Resident Evil so I can play a scary game. And that's what Resident Evil 2 accomplishes. It's also modernized, so the gameplay is honestly really good. It's better than Resident Evil 1 and 0 with their fixed camera angles, and this is the third person over the shoulder. Love that a lot more. The story is very good. It's on point. Probably one of my favorite stories in any Resident Evil game. And you'll have to play the game not one time. You have to play the game only like 5-6 times. And I know it sounds like a lot, but each playthrough is like 2-3 hours at most. If you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it's gonna take like 6, 7, 8. But otherwise, you got a lot of content here. It's a lot of fun, and I didn't get bored playing it, which is nice. The hard difficulties are just honestly on a whole different level. Hardcore S+ tier was just, oh my god. I got so frustrated. I used a guide and I still got frustrated. It was really difficult, and oh my god, thinking about it is just it's like PTSD. It doesn't matter though. I loved it. I have fond memories. It's gonna be in its Leoning time or S++ tier. Now, funny story. Resident Evil 3 Remake is the first Resident Evil game, or even game in general, that I 100%ed, and just for that, it's getting a couple of points. So, Resident Evil 3 is not as good as Resident Evil 2. It tried to live up, but it failed. But this game is honestly just so fun. The gameplay isn't as good. I don't know, something about it just feels off. Like the shooting just doesn't feel right. And the what is it called? I never had to grind in a Resident Evil game before Resident Evil 3. I don't know. I had to grind. I had to kill zombies in a certain section over and over again, and I've never had to do that before. It's really weird. Getting the rocket launcher made everything else just seem easy. Even the hardest difficulty, Inferno mode, was just easy, light work, because I had the infinite rocket launcher. And even though it kind of made the game easy, it's really fun to play, and I would definitely recommend it if you're going to play this game. And I would definitely recommend to 100% it, because there's not much content in this game, but, you know, getting all the achievements kind of makes up for it. So that's what I'm going to putting this in. I'll put in survival horror, because it's fun, but isn't as good as Resident Evil 2. And that brings us to Resident Evil Code Veronica. Now, I love this game. It's honestly the earliest and probably the most horrendous graphics I've seen in a Resident Evil game before as someone playing it, but it honestly is not that bad. The achievements in the older Resident Evil games are honestly a lot easier than the newer ones, simply because they give all the achievements for the story mode, and they give like a lot of gamer score for it, which is really nice, and it makes it a lot easier, which is really nice. So Code Veronica X, the story is fine. It's not as good as Resident Evil 1, 2, 0 even, or 3, but it's good for its time, and it introduces Wesker as like the main villain. Resident Evil 1 did that, but Code Veronica established him as a big threat. So I'm not gonna grade it off of that though. I'm not gonna grade off just the story. The gameplay is kind of it's the worst fixed camera angle Resident Evil that I've played, gameplay wise, because I just don't like the weapons, I don't like the graphics, it's just not gonna be fun. And the gameplay isn't as fleshed out as something like Resident Evil 1 with crimson heads and everything. Enemy variety isn't even that good either. The characters suck. Honestly, I don't like Steve. Not fun. And the Mercenaries is honestly just, I don't even know what it's called. I think it's called Mercenaries. It's some of the worst Mercenaries I've ever played. It's not fun. It's not action-packed. It's just, getting an achievement for that is honestly just sucks. It's boring. And I would rather be playing literally any other Resident Evil, even Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil Revelations 2, or like any of those games. I'd rather play that more than Code Veronica X's Mercenaries. So, I'm gonna give it that. I'm gonna give it, ew, brother, ew, because that's what it is to me. It's an ew. Boom or doom. Anyways, Resident Evil 4 OG. Now, this is gonna be a hot take. Just gonna say it right now. I don't like Resident Evil 4 OG that much. Oh, I know, yep, get it out. I know. Gotta say, the gameplay has aged a lot. Graphics have aged a lot. Story has aged a lot. Everything has aged. Resident Evil 1 and 0, they look really good. The controls are a lot more modernized. Resident Evil 4, on the other hand, it just feels unfair at times, and it's honestly just way too easy. The professional mode was probably the easiest, hardest difficulty I had to complete. Everything is kind of bare bones, if you know what I mean. It just feels like there's not much substance to it. The DLC, the Mercenaries, everything, it's okay, but it's honestly one of the better DLCs for its time. Like, this is the start of the modern Resident Evil. I have to say that, but because of that, and it's also like really easy to 100%. You just have to play the game like twice and do all the DLC. I don't think you even have to do the DLC. I just have to play the game twice. And for that reason, I have to put it's alright. Anyways, now we gotta go to what it was trying to be without the hardware limitations. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4 Remake is honestly just some of the best best video game experiences that I've ever had. It's so fun. I believe it's the second Resident Evil game I've ever played. It is so fun. This is the game that was coming out when I got introduced to the series. And I'm telling you this right now, I didn't make videos on 100% of the games because this was like a passion for me. This was like something on the side other than YouTube that I like to do. I love Resident Evil. I don't think I've ever made a video on Resident Evil, but I'm just telling you, these games they mean a lot to me. And making this video was honestly a lot to me, because, you know, tier lists and something that I don't think anyone's ever done. No one's ever 100% of them and made a video ranking them based on the achievements. So I'm just gonna here to fill that, and I'm gonna, you know, make the content. You guys are gonna enjoy it, hopefully. So Resident Evil 4 Remake, let's get back on track. The gameplay is the best gameplay in every Resident Evil game ever, period. Fight me on it. But the story is honestly kind of, you know, it's there. It's a story. I don't like the story in Resident Evil 4 that much. People might like it. I think it's too cheesy for me. But I'm gonna have to. Oh yeah, the achievements are honestly pretty difficult. A lot more difficult compared to the OG, but they're honestly fine. Like, if you like this game, just getting the achievements isn't gonna be that hard. Like knife only, or knife and pistol, I believe only. That achievement is fun, not because it's like hard, but it's because it gives a different way for you to play the game. It gives you a whole different perspective on playing the game. It's like a whole different game. I said game a lot in that short time span. It's weird, but it's like a whole different experience, and that makes it fun. So getting the achievement, I would recommend on this game specifically, because it gives so much more depth and content that you otherwise couldn't have gotten without 100%ing this game. So for that reason, I'm putting it in its Leoning time. Wow, I mean, like, what a coincidence. It has Leon in it. Anyways, we're on to Resident Evil 5. Okay, another hot take. I like Resident Evil 5, but I don't like it too much. So this game has Albert Wesker, which many people, you know, people think he carries it. Don't think so. He went from a normal guy to like a freaking psychopath, someone who's crazy. He went to cold calculating to just bizarre. I don't know what happened. And that's a dock on the story, because, I mean, even though I like fighting Albert Wesker, it isn't the same as just having him built up, and I feel like they could have done it better. Hopefully the remake does something to fix that, you know. Maybe it's coming out soon, maybe it's not. We don't know yet as of this video. But honestly, Resident Evil 5 is really fun, really good stuff. Love it. Gotta put it in survival horror, because this, even though this isn't survival horror, it's honestly just has the best. First of all, it has the best mercenaries from the OG mercenaries modes, even the raid modes. This is some of the best you can get on the market. If you get like the Xbox version, I believe the triple back, you can get Mercenaries United or Reunited or Reunion or something like that. And there's so many characters, so many ways to play. It's so fun, so many maps. It has some of the hardest achievements in the game. Like professional difficulty it's no joke. It's really difficult. But I would come back to this game now and again. And that's what I have to put in survival horror. It's not like the best of the best, not the creme de la creme, but it's good. It's good, especially for its time. Revelations, however, is honestly just not as good. It tries to be horror. It's not really horror, not really scary. Kind of like annoying, honestly. Some of the characters kind of bring the story down. The achievements are like kind of annoying because you have to play the game a lot. And raid mode is honestly kind of just not as good as it could have been. Revelations 2 builds upon the raid mode and makes it a lot better, and you have to play a lot of raid mode for Resident Evil Revelation to get all the achievements. It's like next to impossible otherwise, and it's just so grindy. But the raid mode is kind of fun. It's not like the story, we have to replay things. It's new content, and just because of that, I have to put this in. You know, I have to put it. I mean, it's all right, because even though it's grindy, it's got a boring story. It's honestly manageable. You know what? I'm gonna put it in Ew Brother Ew, because it's not as good. It's not on the same level as Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 4. I have to say that. Next things next. Resident Evil 6. Okay, you guys know where this is going. I'm not gonna explain it. It's torture. It's some of the most grindy achievements I've ever seen in a Resident Evil game, or game in general. I had to play this game non-stop to get the achievement for this. This was just not fun. And the gameplay just doesn't help. It's fun at first, but after a while, it's just not. It's not good. The guns don't feel good. The melee doesn't feel good. The amount of resources you get doesn't feel good. I never played this game on No Hope, the hardest difficulty, because I didn't have to for an achievement, and that wouldn't have been fun. I've watched Sandwiches, and I'm just saying, he didn't look like he had a good time. So I have to put in torture, because it was torture to like beat this. To get 100% every achievement. It was not okay. I'm scarred for life now. Okay, so this is something you guys didn't expect. Revelations 2. This is a game that I don't think you guys know where this is gonna go. This is gonna go in torture, and I'm gonna explain it right now. Oh my god, if I have to play one more game of Revelations 2, if I have to play one more campaign campaign, story mode, whatever. I'm gonna lose it. Like, it's so bad. I have to play for the medals and invisible mode and just countdown mode. I have to play every mission like freaking 6 times. It's too much. I can't take it, dude. Oh my god, I just can't. If I have to play this mission one more time, I just seen the cutscene of Claire doing backflips and Neil. I can't take it. Okay, I've never ranted or raged so much at a video game in my life. Like, it's not even difficulty. The game isn't even hard. It's just I have to play through the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I played episode 2 like 8 times. 9 times including the first time. Oh my god, I can't do it. It was torture. Now, the achievements aren't difficult. It's just so grindy. It's like Resident Evil 6 level grindy. And you know what? It makes sense because they came out at the same time as Resident Evil 6. It's not fun getting these achievements. The achievements are not fun. They're super grindy. The story is kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie, the story is boring. It's fun at first, but it's just and the gameplay is just it's like Resident Evil 6 but worse somehow. Don't know how they did it, but they made me hate Resident Evil in this game. Next game. This is the one that brought me to Resident Evil. This is the first Resident Evil I've ever watched, and I watched it when it came out, and you can guess how that went for someone who is a bit young to watch violence on that level. Anyways, this is definitely the harder Resident Evil game to 100%. It's definitely a lot of harder achievements, but this, oh my god, the game is so good. I played this campaign like 6 times in a row. I didn't play any other game. I played Resident Evil 7 as the only game I played 6 times in a row, and you know what? It was fun. I enjoyed it. Unlike Resident Evil Revelations 2, I didn't flip out. I enjoyed every second of it. It has its flaws, like you can't skip cutscenes, and that sucks, especially for 100%ing the game and playing the game over and over and over again. But the Madhouse mode was fun. Jack's 55th birthday was really difficult. It made me skip a year because that took so long. It was just so difficult. DLC was amazing. Getting the achievements for everything was just, honestly, just some of the best Resident Evil experiences in my life. It's scary, which is honestly what I come to Resident Evil for. As I said in Resident Evil 2, and it just makes the whole experience a lot better. This is like peak Resident Evil. So because of that, I'm gonna put this in. It's Leoning time, and it doesn't even have Leon. It has freaking Chris and Ethan. And speaking of Chris and Ethan, guess what the next game is? It's the only one left, the Resident Evil Village. Now, we're going to finish this list with a bang, because Resident Evil Village is honestly not as good as Resident Evil 7. I'm gonna say it, it's not as good. The gameplay is a lot more action focused, spiritual successor to Resident Evil 4, as a lot of people said. Unlike Resident Evil 7, after playing this game like 5 times, I just didn't feel like I was having fun. I got bored, just get it over with. And there was an achievement, my voice is going away. There's an achievement, Legendary Cowboy, I believe, and that thing just, oh my god, I had to skip a year. It was so difficult, I had to take a break for a year to 100% this game. Oh my god, I hate mercenaries. This game has probably some of the worst mercenaries next to Code Veronica. But I did it. It was fun after a while. I mastered the characters, and because of that, I have to put it in survival horror. Not top tier, but it's good. Now, if I had to rank every single Resident Evil game within its tier, this is how it's gonna go. It's gonna be Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2, then Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 4, and then on the bottom, it's gonna be not bottom. The next one is gonna be Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 0, in that order. I like Resident Evil 4 more than Resident Evil 1 Remake. I liked Revelations more than Code Veronica, a lot less difficult. And I like Resident Evil 6 more than Resident Evil Revelations 2, because that's the most recent one I 100%ed. Revelations 2 is the most recent, and I have a lot of bad memories from that, so it's gonna have a little bias, but it's fine. And that's gonna be my tier list. So tell me what you guys think of my my rankings in the comments below. Remember, this is not how I like each Resident Evil game. This is how it felt to 100% them, as someone who did 100% them. And I want you guys to tell me what your rankings would be in the comments down below. That's all I have for this video, so hopefully I can actually publish this. And I'll see you in the next video. Remember to stay safe, everyone. And I'll see you later.